folks? Welcome back to On Texas Football, and welcome to a Freak Flag Feel Good Fake It Till You Make It Ric Flair Woo! Football Friday edition of your Friday live stream. I'm Lifetime Longhorn Rod Babers. Pleased to be joined by the estimable Jerry Hamilton and, of course, the newest member of the On Texas Football family, my good friend and now co-worker Jeff Howe, joining us as well. Lots to get to on the show. Of course, there is the latest news for Texas basketball. Looks like another one of the Longhorns is coming back for Sean Miller's tenure. We'll start at that. We'll talk about that coming up. We'll also get to Texas spring football news, notes, and nuggets. We'll dive into some of that conversation. There's also a lot of prospects expect to be on campus this weekend. We'll talk to Jerry and Jeff about that as well. And, of course, Pro Football Focus, actually, they've been ranking the top 10 returning players at every position. Longhorns been getting a lot of love. Got the number one linebacker, according to Pro Football Focus. Number one edge defender coming back in the country. We'll see now where they have Malik Muhammad ranked among the top returning cornerbacks in college football, and we'll have that discussion and talk about it as well. So we got a lot to also the David Bailey discussion. Yes. His decision either expected pretty soon or is in the process of being made right now. Texas on that very short list of schools that he is considering. So we'll throw that out there as well as a topic of conversation. But you guys know how it works. Super chats jump to the front of the line. You can interrupt the show at any time. David Keith Williams, hey, we appreciate you as always. Another On Texas Football live stream, another 1.5 hours of unproductive work. Hey, for us, we working. I don't know why they call it work for us, but we actually are working. But thank you, David Keith, for joining us, as well as everybody else, no matter where you're joining us from. Hope the weather is nice there. It's beautiful here in Austin, Texas right now. What's up to the two goats and the Aggie Jerry? Hey, Joe Z, taking shots already. But you guys don't super chats jump to the front of the line. You can interrupt the show at any time. Please do throw them out there. Any questions or comments, we'll try to address as many of them as we can. You guys try to drive the show in any direction you want to. But let's start out, guys, with the David Bailey conversation. Can we start there? And then we'll make our way to the recruiting news, because I know there are some prospects on campus, because it's about talent acquisition these days, and that's transfer portal and, of course, traditional recruiting. And then we'll get to some spring football news, notes, and nuggets, and then dive into Texas basketball as well. But let's start with the David Bailey. What is this? Where are we? Where's Texas, I should say, Jerry, in this recruitment of David Bailey, the edge defender from Stanford?
Yeah, I think barring a change, it's going to be Texas Tech or Texas for the Stanford grad who had a year left to play. David Bailey, one of the top edge players in the country. Rod, we haven't been on a show together to discuss this, but look, Texas Tech, I think, is going to have the highest NIL offer. And then I think Texas has made their best NIL offer, and now he decides which way he wants to go, barring a change. But we're hearing UCLA's not it, and it will be Texas Tech or Texas. I mean, so it's one of those decisions he has to make. There's going to be. I jokingly say, for those that have seen the movie Roadhouse, their big gun is Brad Wesley running Lubbock and Texas Tech, and he's trying to give David Bailey Stoudemire's Ford dealership. We'll see which way this goes, but I'm interested to see David Bailey's decision, Rod and Jeff, because the guy's a tremendous player. And, Rod, we haven't had a chance to talk about this. Yes, Texas has tremendous edge talent, right? They have really good players. They have really good linebackers. They still went and got Brad Spence. This guy's a difference maker, pass rusher, and turnover creator, right? I mean, he's 7 forced fumbles and 14.5 sacks there. You see it in 3 years, 7 and 5 last year. Crazy. So, what are your thoughts on this? I mean, the thought that I starts getting salivating if this guy picks Texas is, when Will Anderson and Dallas Turner played on opposite sides, that was a true menace for people to deal with. So think about having Colin Simmons and David Bailey on opposite sides as pass rushers. Ethan Burke, really good player. Some of the young guys are going to be good players. Colton Vosick, you never know if he's going to be healthy. But having two of the nation's best edge pass rushers lined up opposite on the same field, that makes for one bad dude pass rush team if Texas wins out.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think at this point they're just stockpiling pass rushers. There's nothing wrong with that. If you watch the Super Bowl, I always say there are lessons learned from watching the Super Bowl. Right, that is the pinnacle of football, the apex of it. And what was the lesson we learned this year? Organic pressure. Right, and that organic. I mean, they didn't blitz one time. Philly didn't blitz one time, and they were able to constantly harass Patrick Mahomes and keep him under duress and make him look average to mediocre. That's hard to do, but you can do that when you have an organic pass rush. Texas, as we've talked about, they have one of the lowest blitz rates in the country. They don't blitz a lot. I think that's the way PK likes it. I think, Johnny Nansen may be a little bit different in his touch, but I think PK likes being able to win the numbers advantage in the passing game and be able to create organic pressure. So I think they're just trying to stockpile pass rushers, and they know how to maximize them. We know that from the NASCAR package where they put 3 edge rushers on the field. My biggest question, coming out after watching them, even if they don't get David Bailey, man, what is the plan for Trey Moore? Because I assumed, when I'm hearing that they're not only just cross-training him at linebacker, that it may be projected for him to play more linebacker than edge defender. And I understand that because maybe that's where he projects in the NFL, and maybe they're trying to find some exotic ways to weaponize him. But then I see them go after another pass rusher who's all and I think that Trey Moore had 6 sacks last year. I mean, I think he's like your third, in my opinion, third best natural pass rusher on the team behind Colin Simmons and Anthony Hill. And then you go after another guy. So either they're stockpiling pass rushers, or I'm not sure either. I'm not sure what the plan is for Trey Moore. And maybe one has nothing to do with the other. Right. But in my mind, they're kind of connected. So I'm just curiosity. I think it's a great plan to go after David Bailey and stockpile pass rushers. You can't go wrong there. It just makes me more interested in the Trey Moore plan of how they're going to utilize him, Jeff, going forward. That's all.
Yeah, there's that. I think the bottom line for me, Rod, this is a conversation that you and I have had ongoing for years. What makes a better pass defense? Does better coverage help out the pass rush, or are you better off devoting your resources to pass rush? Therefore, it would benefit coverage. The chicken or the egg, which one happens first? I think this is the staff reinforcing. Now, we believe that above all else, we got to have an elite pass rush. And I think this is just doubling down on a strength. They've got one of the best pass rushes in the country already. You bring in David Bailey. I mean, basically, if you look just at it from a personnel standpoint, you're basically switching out Barron Sorrell with David Bailey, hypothetically. And, Barron Sorrell more profiled really well. And I'm not saying Barron Sorrell couldn't rush the passer, because he could, but you're trading out more of a prototypical strong side end for a guy that's just an elite pass rusher, an elite guy off the edge. So I think for your sub packages, your NASCAR package, whatever, I just think this is the equivalent of the defensive equivalent of in 2022, Sark using so much 12 personnel, to use so much 2 tight end personnel, saying, hey, yes, we do have 2 really good backs, but I'm going to do everything in my power to make sure I maximize what these 2 backs bring to the table. I think this is you saying, defensively, we want to be led by our pass rush, and we don't want an injury to Colton Vasek, or, if Trey Moore ends up playing off the ball, whatever, we want to have somebody that we know we can put in a game in any situation, and he can go disrupt the quarterback.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's one of my things too, Rod, is, look, do you need David Bailey on paper? No. But part of your on paper, but I do think you always need tremendous players. He's a top 3-round draft pick, by the way, if you're trying to win a national championship. But your on paper also has Colton Vasek, who hasn't been healthy for an extended period of time since he's been on campus.
That's fair.
And Rod, this as a player that was in meeting rooms. It's that staff is sitting there planning for next season. They're like, we love Colton Vasek's talent, but he hadn't been healthy. It's hard to count on somebody who hadn't been healthy their whole career, right? No matter how good you think he is. So then you're sitting there saying, okay, what if Colton Vasek continues to have an injury issue? What if he doesn't give us a first fully healthy season since he's been at Texas? We know somebody else is going to get nicked up. What do we have? What do we have if another guy goes down? Suddenly your depth is gone. So aside from being a tremendous football player in a top 3-round future NFL draft, you have to look at your situation and say, if Colton Vostok is our third edge this year, and while we love his talent, we haven't seen enough of it. So how do we count on that in a 16-game season?
It's a great point. No, I agree with you. I agree with both those points. I've always thought, been told by coaches, and now I believe it as well. Protection beats coverage. I'm a DB, and I can admit that, right? That's what 4th and 13 was all about. Great protection. It beats your really good coverage, even if you have the numbers advantage. But pressure will beat protection.
Yes.
How good your protection is, that's what the Super Bowl showed us, right? Yeah, y'all got good protection. Don't matter. If I got sufficient enough pressure, I can collapse your protection.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of what Texas is betting on right now. And this is one of my theories and I'm going to look deeper into this, especially if they get David Bailey. Because then you're talking about having, you're stockpiling multiple starters basically at edge. And I think they want to be more matchup and situation specific. And what I mean by that is, yes, you got your NASCAR package, your third and long, but I think they might want a third and medium. I think they might want, to match up better with, teams that want to run the football and have power identity, and then teams that want to throw the football. I think you may be looking at Jelani McDonald and how they're going to utilize Jelani McDonald. We talk about that all the time. So you got 2 starting nickels basically with Gilbo and Jelani McDonald. And we talk about how deep they are at safety. We expect some other young safeties to make moves this year. I expect them to play more 3 safety packages. I think with the exotics we saw last year, maybe bringing in guys who are considered multiple starters, considered to have multiple starters at certain positions. Maybe they just want to be more situation malleable, where they can become, they basically can become whatever matches up best against the opposing offense. And they did some of that last year. Big nickel, the 3D tackle package against Michigan. They did some of that last year. I think they want to go even further with that. That'd be my theory. If they get David Bailey in that room, because they would have to pitch him something other than NIL, like, hey man, because he wants to go to the league.
Right.
You go to the league if you ain't playing.
Right.
So what's the pitch now that, hey man, this is how we're gonna maximize you at Texas. This is it. And maybe Jeff is right too. He's like, hey man, you're basically gonna kind of replace our Baron Sorrell here. We just need 3 of them, and that's kind of
and not that Tech is a bad team, because they're not. And look, they're not. I'm not saying they're Texas or Notre Dame or playoff team, but I'm also saying they've done pretty well in the portal. They're not a bad team. So here's the question I have. It's so interesting. And if the money differential's enough, a lot of times the decision's already made, right? Because then you guaranteeing yourself a pot of gold, and then whatever happens in the NFL happens in the NFL. But let's say that's not 100% of it. He was just on a really bad team at Stanford.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they got their butt kicked. And he hasn't been on a good football team. So does that play into it at all for him? I would say probably not if your final 3 are UCLA, Texas, and Texas Tech. I'm guessing I'm not saying the guy doesn't want to win, but it's not like he had 3 playoff teams in his final 3. So, but if that's a part of it, look, it's real. A guy like that is super intelligent, right? He watches ball. He goes on a visit, and he's going to ask Trey Moore and Colin Simmons, what'd you think about playing this many snaps? Kind of how'd they use you in those snaps? That guy's highly intelligent dude. Yep. So he's going to get all the questions football-wise he needs answered. He's going to get them. He's going to get answers to those either from the Texas staff or asking the players on his visit. And I'm not saying the guy doesn't want to win. Everybody wants to win. And sometimes, it's a final payday before you go to the NFL. You never know injury-wise what's going to happen in your career. But it'll be interesting to see if, after he makes a decision, whichever way that goes, if that was any part of his thinking. I don't know. But I know guys that have been on losing teams. It sucks. And, are you okay with not? Well, look, Tech could go 9-3, make the playoff. I'm not saying it can't happen, or 10-2. Arizona State did it from 3-9. This is what NIL does for teams. But what are their odds? And you have a chance to be on one of the premier teams in the country next year. Is that going to factor in for him? We'll have to see. His final 3 says no on the surface, but we'll see.
I think that's good stuff, Jerry. My last thing on it would be just from the staff's perspective, like, why would you do this? Is it overkill? I think this is Rod. This goes back to something Sark said. We haven't heard from Sark in almost a month now.
Yeah.
But you and I broke it down on Football Theory, him basically saying, in a 16-game season, we need to make sure we've got enough. And I think that's on both sides of the ball, schematically, personnel-wise, make sure you've got enough. I think this is we don't want to if in a semifinal or a first-round game or whatever, if to win a national championship, if you've got to face like a legit air raid team, almost like you did basically, that's kind of what Arizona State was. And Clemson, that's kind of what Clemson had to become because they had no running backs by the time they got to the Texas game. We need to make sure we can have as many athletes on the field to defend a mobile quarterback or an air raid type offense that wants to throw it. So I think this is, again, Sark always talks about, and any coach worth their salt talks about, we want to be able to win games in multiple ways. If we've got to, and I think this is him saying, if we've got to deploy, if your front seven has to be David Bailey, Colin Simmons, Ethan Burke, and somebody on the interior with Trey Moore, Brad Spence, and Anthony Hill at linebacker to maximize your pass rush and your athleticism, then yeah, you can go do that and win ball games in the playoff.
Yeah, and that kind of goes with what I was saying about matchup. You want to be matchup and situation specific.
Exactly, yeah.
You were last year, I think, at time, and to your point, Jeff, when you faced better quarterbacks, that's when they were able to take advantage of some of those frailties and some of that rigidity. And I think Texas did. And I remember, Jerry, we were watching the Clemson game.
Yeah.
And I remember we were talking. I said, man, Clemson they've abandoned the running game. And why don't they just put the NASCAR package out there and just say, to hell with it, man. Let's just let our pass rushers go after Cade Klubnik because he was just out there dealing. That's kind of what I think Jeff's pointing to. At one time, they need to be able to shift, and then maybe they didn't have enough versatility, enough depth to be able to shift to that last year. They'll face better quarterbacks too, by the way. Be honest, they faced a dog-ish schedule to quarterbacks. This year, it will be a better schedule of quarterbacks.
Yes. So you know what's funny about this conversation the last 4 days? I've now convinced myself why Texas needs David Bailey. And before this ever popped up, it was all good. And I still think it's all good if he doesn't go somewhere else, but now you get greedy. This is what happens, right? This is where the greed sets in. And you sit there thinking, okay, let's see. So Colin Simmons over here, David Bailey here, Anthony Hill, nobody will know where he's coming from. Boy, good luck with that. I mean, that's kind of what you start to think, boy, good luck with that, guys. I mean, man, Trey Moore blitz up from the middle. I mean, who knows? I mean, for the opponents, man, that's, you can bring 5 and good luck blocking our 5. Yeah, because we have 3 of those 5 combined for about 25 sacks last year. So good luck with that. So that's when you get greedy and you say, And so always you got to set yourself up and say Texas has unbelievable talent on their roster. And if I knew Colton Vosick was healthy and he had like 5 sacks last year, I wouldn't be singing this tune. It's hard to trust a player even as talented as Vosick because he's been hurt so much. And you want to see him have a healthy season. It's like Jordan Whittington. You just want to say, what can you do, man, if you're healthy? Because you see the flashes. But when you want to play for it all every year, like I don't want to put all my eggs in the basket of a guy who's been hurt so often. So, man, 1, we better cover ourselves. But 2, then you start thinking about what would this look like if you had a guy with 7 sacks that forced 5 fumbles on a bad team last year getting doubled. Then Colin Simmons opposite Anthony Hill roaming around doing what he wants to do out there. Pretty scary for the opponent. Maybe you're going to play better quarterbacks.
To your point, Jerry, maybe the assumption is they know Colin Simmons is going to get so much attention that we need to make sure that everybody else who's getting those one-on-one blocking situations that they win, and we got as many guys that can win as possible because he's going to demand too. You can't leave him one-on-one. There ain't many tackles in the country that's going to be able to hold up one-on-one in a predictable.
Rod, you just brought Texas' greatest pitch to him.
Yeah.
Last year, David, everybody game planned you out of it. And you still had 7 tackles and 5 forced fumbles. You're going to come to this team, and over here, Colin Simmons, everybody's going to game plan him. You get favorable matchups. They can't game plan both of you. They can't double both of you guys on the edge. You get a lot of great matchups.
I think that, and then to kind of buoy what I said a minute ago in the same vein y'all are talking, I think just to be able to come at teams in waves, you know, like, oh yeah, okay, great. Colin Simmons is out of the game. All right, well, here comes David Bailey, or here comes Trey Moore, or here comes Brad Spence, or yeah, we're gonna put Anthony Hill on the edge this time. Like it's a never-ending assault on the line of scrimmage. Yeah. I just think it's doubling down. You know what Jerry calls greed, I'll call doubling down. It's the same thing. Like, leave no stone unturned. Our pass rush is going to be the best in the country come hell or high water, even if we've got to, you know, put more into it from an NIL standpoint than we thought.
Yeah, the argument could have been made that it was the best pass rush in the country coming back for 2025.
Yes.
Even without David Bailey. You get David Bailey, and I'm with you. Hey, what did Gordon Gekko say? Greed is good. All right? Watch Wall Street. Greed is good. All right, it's good. All right, let me thank our friend. There you go. Boom. Hey, that's a bright one. Great minds think alike. All right, let's thank our friends over at South Point Dodge before we move on. Texas football fans, you can score an easy extra point this season when you get to the point with our friends over at South Point Dodge. South Point Dodge has over 600 vehicles, folks. 600 vehicles in stock right now, including all new 2025 Jeep Wranglers. Get the real deal today and drive away in the Jeep Wrangler, a vehicle built for adventure, folks. So head on over to South Point Dodge. And plus, right now, you can get employee incentive prices. What does that mean? Well, that means you pay what the employees pay. You know that employee discount that every company has? Well, now you get the employee discount over at South Point Dodge. That is a real deal. You won't get a better deal, you know, with our friends over at South Point Dodge. So score big today at South Point Dodge. Go see them in person off of I-35 in South Austin, or you can go online. You make it easy on yourself that way and go to southpointdodge.com. Get to the point with our friends over at South Point Dodge, and that is a hell of a deal. The employee discount you're getting over at South Point Dodge right now. Employee incentive pricing is what they're calling it, but essentially you're getting the employee discount. Can't beat that. Thank you to our friends over at South Point Dodge, southpointdodge.com, for sponsoring our Friday live stream and being a part of the On Texas football family. All right, we got some questions here. We'll get to these questions, and I got a couple of topics I want to ask the guys about. How about this one from David Keith Williams, DK Dub? I don't know if you even like that, but I like the way it sounds. Rolls off the tongue. He says, do you see similarities in David Bailey transferring to Texas or elsewhere to O'Shawn Mathis not transferring to Texas in 2022, but instead transferring to Nebraska? There was a lot of hype about O'Shawn Mathis. I remember this, a lot of hype. But I think it's the reason I'd say it's a little different is because last year you proved that, and now you have more capable pass rushers on campus, proven pass rushers on campus, and you didn't have that with O'Shawn Mathis. He was supposed to be kind of your proven pass rusher you were bringing in. Now you got proven pass rushers, and I said I'm with you. I think this is more of a luxury. O'Shawn Mathis felt like at the time it felt like more of a necessity. This is more feels like like Jerry said. I feel like, man, you get him. There's no doubt Texas will be expected to have the best pass rush in the country. Right, even right now without him, you can still make the argument. You can make a credible argument that Texas has the best pass rush in the country without David Bailey. You could.
Yeah, we just went 20 minutes on it and didn't even mention Brad Spence had 4.5 sacks last year.
Yeah.
I mean, so that's where we're at. You know, I can't remember the O'Shawn. Man, am I that old? O'Shawn Mathis, was that also girlfriend related? Was there also a girlfriend involved?
Oh, I can't remember that. I can't remember that. You're right. I'm getting too old.
Somebody will know this, man. I'm blanking on this because he did blank at Nebraska. So I don't know. I think I don't know. I think there was a girlfriend involved.
And doesn't that go to Sark's point, though, that O'Shawn Mathis, remember, Sark even said on the Colt McCoy show recently, the interview, he said, listen, we look at the market, basically. We value certain players at certain positions. We give them a monetary value within, of course, the parameters of their NIL budget, which is basically the salary cap for them. And he said, and it is what it is. He said, and we've had to do that with guys that are our own guys and guys that we're thinking about bringing into the program. Once we give it a value, he's essentially implying they don't budge from that. And that's why they may lose out on some O'Shawn Mathises of the world and some of those types of guys. Now, I don't know how much truth is that because I'm sure there is wiggle room now because every player ain't the same. All right. But that's what Sark claims. And that's kind of why you lose out on a guy like O'Shawn Mathis. but they want to stick to their methodology because they believe it works. And there's right now a lot of evidence to suggest it does work, whatever they're doing right now.
From what I remember, just talking to some people on the Nebraska side of that thing, it just sounded like Nebraska was going to do whatever they needed to do to get it from an NIL standpoint.
Sounds like this recruitment a little bit.
Yeah. To me, to answer David Key Williams' question, this to me would be more like last year when Kalen DeBoer took the Bama job and then Jabbar Muhammad went in the portal and Texas made a run at Jabbar Muhammad. It's like, look, our pass defense was so bad. We're going to throw everything we can at it to make it better, even if that means we got to go get us a transfer corner to come compete for that other. Now, Jahdae Barron ended up playing corner and Jahdae won the Thorpe Award and you were fine. But they were going to put as many resources into making that secondary better as possible. So I just think that's more like what this is.
That's a good point. I like that comparison too. All right. Thank you for the question, David Key Williams. We appreciate it. All right. I want to get to recruiting before we get too deep into the show, Jerry. Big weekend. A lot of prospects going to be on campus for the Longhorns coming up this weekend. What can you tell us from the recruiting world?
Felix Ojo got in yesterday, and so he's been on campus for about 24 hours. Then there's 3 defensive linemen I talked about this morning, but I want to go over these guys again because I think they're going to be – I think these guys are key in this recruiting class potentially. Damari Simeon from Richland, New Jersey, St. Augustine High. Really talented. I think on tape one of the better junior D linemen in the country. This is 2026 I'm talking about. 6'2", 6'2.5", 275-ish. A disruptor, 3-tech, really quick, great long arm, strong kid, strong hands. This is his first visit to Texas coming up this weekend, scheduled to be here. This will be a big visit because if this goes well and he shows up close to his listed, which he can't, if he shows up 6'2", 265, that changes the game a little bit, right? But if he shows up 6'2", 275 area with the frame to carry 300 pounds, this is going to be, I think, a push for Texas here to get an official visit. And the competition is Tennessee, Ohio State, Penn State, Auburn, A&M, and a number of others. I think a really talented player. He's not really ranked yet for whatever reason, but I think by July when these rankings kind of recalibrate, I'll be surprised if he's not inside the top 150 in the country, maybe even the top 100. I think he's really talented if people get some confirmed measurables on him. Then there's Corey Wells out of Petal High in Mississippi, 6'5", 290, one of the more recent D-line offers. Good over the ball player, long arm, strong kid with a frame to build on. This is his first visit to Texas. And the reason I brought these guys up, James Johnson, the third guy, who Texas has a long way to go on that one. He's out of North Fort Myers. He's now transferred to Miami Northwestern, one of the better guys in the country, 6'2.5", 285. Texas is well behind in that. Now, they were well behind when Jamie French showed up last year too. So we'll see. But I would say of these 3 D linemen in this weekend, James Johnson is the one that I'd put way on the peripheral for Texas. He's got Miami, Florida, Georgia official visits, Penn State, I believe, as well. But Damari Simeon's an interesting one to me, a New Jersey kid. Texas hasn't recruited a D lineman in New Jersey since Sadir.
Wow.
This kid, I think, is really talented. Corey Wells from Petal in Mississippi. Mississippi State's his only OV right now. I think Texas will get one of those. So the D-line guys are kind of in focus a little bit because this point last year is when you saw Myron Charles and Josiah Sharma show up for the first time on campus. And then what happened after that was the official visits and then the battles all the way to signing day because War Daddy D linemen are really talented D linemen. They're going to be battled for until signing day. Somebody asked another one, living rent-free, Jabari Mack keeping his options open. He's in town with his entire family today. And I think he has 7-on-7 this weekend. Yeah, Jabari Mack, the receiver from Destrehan, who committed to LSU, I believe March 22nd it was. He was at Texas for Junior Day, January 20th. I think he's also scheduled to be back April 26th, June 13th official visit. Texas is going to be right there on Jabari Mack until he shuts down his recruitment. He doesn't look like he has plans to shut it down. He has Ohio State visit May 30th, June 2nd, Texas A&M the 6th through 8th, Texas the 13th through 15th, and LSU the 20th through 22nd. The interesting thing I'm watching right now with some of these LSU guys, Tristan Keys, Jabari Mack, if this house settlement goes through, they got some. There's going to some of these kids that are committed elsewhere have some big promises made, and if this house settlement goes through, it's going to get a little dicey for some of these schools. It'll be interesting to see what happens. But Texas also has a 2027 one of the top offensive linemen in the country on campus, and that's Jimmy Callis. He's from Central Catholic in Pittsburgh. And that name I mentioned on Texas Football in January because I was told Kyle Flood went by that school. And now he's making his first unofficial visit to Texas. I hear he really likes Texas. Now, you have Penn State, Ohio State, Notre Dame. You have Michigan. You have all of them. And then you have Alabama. You name it, at the SEC, Georgia, everybody's offered him. Florida, Texas A&M, everybody's offered him. One of the better 2027 offensive linemen in the country on campus for the first time as well. So a lot of first-time visitors around guys like Felix Ojo. But Texas has a small group coming through campus, but a key group, especially on the D-line. April 12th next weekend will be the first big visit weekend.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Jerry, for the nuggets there. We appreciate it. Let's you know what? I want to ask you guys really quickly because in somebody here, yes, Jack does. Jack mentions it here. Sark has been doing some interviews. He actually did an interview with Chris Sims. I have not seen the Chris Sims interview. Jack said something else I didn't realize until he said it. Coach Brown only back-to-back 11 win season was Chris Sims.
That was his first back-to-back.
First back-to-back 11 win seasons. But someone brought up, and I don't know if it was Jack or not, I apologize, brought up the fact that Sims sat down with Sark. So I've not seen that interview, by the way, just throwing it out there. But yes, no, basically I was a part of Mac's first 11 win season. And then the back-to-back, which kind of started the campaign of him winning double-digit games. Sark's timeline should be way more accelerated than Mac. And NIL is why. And even Sark has talked about how they're going to weaponize NIL and that kind of thing. But I want to ask you guys about something, Sark talked about in his interview with Colt actually earlier. He talked about basically how Arch, one of the things that he realized watching Arch, talked about the it factor. He talked about the leadership. But he went out of his way to say that Arch is bringing back the deep ball. He brought it up himself, actually. That was one of the things he said athleticism, the two tangible qualities he mentioned that we got a chance to see from Arch is athleticism, and he brought up the deep ball. He literally said, and the deep ball, and how important it is in the offense.
I mean, I have two thoughts on that. One, amazing that came up before the NFL draft for Quinn.
I know.
We're getting the deep ball back. Offense. I mean,
that's
we still get drafted over there.
Yeah. Jared, someone asked him, like, hold on. So is he basically saying that the offense has not been?
That's exactly what he says.
Yes. He's saying it's not been fully. So what percentage of the offense have we basically seen fully realized?
Well, you did. So I was 80%? Also told back shoulder ball, Rod. The back shoulder ball's coming back. So, and those were the outside the number throws down the field were not strengths of Quinn. And we used to talk about this. I would actually have game planned Quinn, maybe like Arizona State did. I'll give up a little leverage on the outside at times. Just prove to me you can hit that thing down the field.
Which is what 4th and 13 was. Because he finally did it.
But it's really at the outside the numbers throws.
Yeah.
I think in the middle of the field he was good. His big throws, I mean, he had one against A&M, but it's the outside the numbers. When you're playing along the sideline, along the boundary, those were not his strengths throwing the ball down the field. And so I think with Arch, that's what you're going to see more of in this Texas offense. So, Rod, that's my question to you. You now have the full field. Where I think Sark had the scheme with Quinn without using the full field.
Yeah.
And I think that – so I'm going to be so interested to see how teams play Texas. Because if it's me, I'm going to be like, for the first year starting quarterback, if I'm Ohio State, I'm going to play a little deeper. I'm going to say, no. I want you to beat his own.
Yeah,
I want you to beat his own in the intermediate.
Yep. You want to turn Arch into Quinn.
Yes.
Yes. See, Arch can become Quinn. If Arch can become Quinn, it's like, all right, he beat me being Quinn. But I'm with you. I think I would keep an umbrella over the whole damn thing. Because does he have the patience? Because he showed last year he actually evolved in those 3 games. Remember, at one point, he did not want to check it down. He did not want to take what the defense was giving him. And we saw more of that, all right, as he ended up getting more experience. But that would be my thing. Can you frustrate him enough that he'll just take the dump offs and the check downs time after time? Or will at one point he'll get frustrated and try to force it downfield, which he did as a young quarterback. But I just thought it was interesting, Jeff, that Sark just said, yeah, man, it's so important in our offense. It is key. It's vital. And I was like, you realize Quinn wasn't really good at that. So where could the offense potentially go if Arch can master all of those throws, even the deep ones?
And I thought it was interesting too, because I haven't listened to the whole interview Sark did with Colt, but I did listen to the whole Chris Sims interview, and they got into talking about the draft and Quinn. And Sark said there was 2 things that teams should like about Quinn. One, that life in a fishbowl existence of being the quarterback at Texas. Like, he can go into an NFL franchise and isn't going to be overwhelmed by, the media and the spotlight being on him, because it's been on him so long. And the other thing he said, he is lights out in the short and intermediate game. He mentioned Quinn coming in as a young quarterback, having to learn our offense and how important the deep ball is. And then he went back and said, but he's lights out in the short and intermediate game. So that's another thing that tells you Sark knows we do have a vertical element to this offense. We haven't really gotten to show it. We will now. And to your point, Rod, where you can get with Arch, where it looked like, go back to that Alabama game in 2022, and the term you used when we talked about our Longhorn Blitz when we recorded after that game, the idea of, as a defense, you have to defend every blade of grass. That's what that game plan was with Quinn, and it was so lights out. It was so good before he got hurt. Mm-hmm. That's where, if you can get Arch to perfect his craft in the short and intermediate game, what are you going to defend at that point? So I think that's where you're going.
I want to use this. I want to use this analogy before it gets outlawed. Sark wants to walk to the plate with a torpedo bat. He digs the long ball. And Arch Manning's going to be his bat. So I had to get it in before it gets outlawed. Sorry.
Well done. That was timely, on point. Multi-sport. Good stuff there, Jerry.
You know what though, Jerry? I'll back up what you said in a serious manner, because I heard Schloss talk about this the other day when we met with him. He was talking about offensive baseball. He's like, yeah, you want to be diverse. You want to be able to run, bunt, all that stuff. He said, but especially in the SEC, you have to have the threat of the home run. Yep. You have to, or you're not going to be very successful in this league. I think that's what Sark wants to get to. You have to have the threat of, man, could this be where they're taking a shot? And Rod, as a defensive back, yes. I mean, it could be a double move or whatever, but you're always on your toes looking for the deep ball. It got to the point, and I don't know if it was Quinn's health or what the deal was, but it got to a point where when teams started defending the deep ball, I'm like, go ahead and defend the deep ball, because he's not going to throw it down the field. He's perfectly fine taking these 4 and 5 yard chunks and letting guys work in space.
Yeah, no, it is Sark, because when Sark first got it, I remember Sark saying that because they were so bad at the deep ball, they were so inefficient at it early on. He got asked about, why you keep throwing the deep balls, especially on first down, where he would essentially throw his team and they would obviously either miss on a deep ball or it would be some failed conversion and they would end up in second and long and third and long. And he said, we're going to keep throwing it because it's such a vital part of our offense. And we know over time, he decided to, he decided to move away from it a little bit, right? And he understood that it was hurting the offense more than it was helping the offense. It's possible now that, that Texas leads the country in deep ball rate. I know that sounds crazy, but it might be something that drastic because Arch is a 20% deep ball rate guy. Quinn is around 12%. Like, that's a big leap. Just to give you any background on that, remember Michael Penix when Texas played him? Remember Washington threw the ball deep more than any team in the country? He was at 21%.
Yeah.
He led the country in deep ball rate at 21%. Arch last year was at 21%. Arch digs the long ball. All right, he loves it. So I just thought that was interesting that Sark brought that up. I thought you guys may find it interesting as well. All right, let's thank our friends over at Flat Creek, and then we'll get into some other questions here. Did you know the most awarded wine in Texas is actually the vineyard closest to Austin? That's right, folks. Flat Creek Estate Winery is just minutes from downtown Austin, and they've won award after award for their vintage wine, Super Texan. Super Texan is now available at your local spec, so please give it a try. Of course, Flat Creek is also a gorgeous venue with barbecues and wine tastings every single weekend. It's perfect for a day date with your significant other or a weekend getaway with your significant other. That's Flat Creek Estate Winery. Also, I saw Flat Creek Estate with a display at our local Central Market. So not only can you get Super Texan at your local specs, but I saw a display here in Austin at our local Central Market. And if you have any special occasion that you are planning that you really want to celebrate with Flat Creek, because they have a fantastic venue there. One of our members of the On Texas football family recently got engaged out there at Flat Creek Estate Winery. So no matter how special the occasion is, they can accommodate any of your wishes. That's flatcreekestate.com. Really appreciate them for being sponsors of our Friday live stream. All right, how about this one from Nathan? Says, Jerry, have you heard that A&M is targeting the Samford coach?
I was going to bring that up so I could get this one-liner out of the way. I have not heard that, but A&M seems to rally behind guys named Bucky, so he'd probably be a good fit. Bucky McMillan is the coach.
I didn't even know that. I just learned something new. I had no idea.
They seem to like guys that are named Bucky. So,
all right, how about this one from Salty Q? I think it's interesting. Salty Q says, will the D benefit from practicing against a better running quarterback? I will say that all the quarterbacks now have more mobility. Trey Owens, he's obviously more of a pocket passing quarterback, but your KJ Lacey will be a guy that can move around. When Dia comes in, Dia has better function and mobility. Of course, Arch, we know Arch can run it. So I just think it's more, I don't even know if it's Sark and his preferences about quarterback changing a little bit, or if it's a quarterback position now, it's just overall just more athletic than it used to be. And some of the best athletes on these football teams now are playing quarterback, as opposed to it used to be, hey, the guy that has all the measurables and the guy that fits the prototype to play quarterback will play quarterback. We're breaking some of those kind of stereotypes about QB now. So now you have quarterbacks coming more variety, I should say. And I think Sark's preferences have reflected that. Am I off about that, Jerry?
No, I don't think so at all. Look, I think the main thing with me with Sark is it's a pocket quarterback 1, 2, 3 with the functionality, right? The functional athlete. If you get a really good athlete, that's also a pocket passer. But I think where Sark is one of the things that I like about Sark is he's going to evolve. He seems to be evolving with the game.
Yep.
He is not square peg round hole. Because in the SEC, I mean, the pass rush is different. The athletes are different. And to have mobility at the quarterback position, I think is really key in the future of college football. That doesn't mean, look, that you can't win it with a pure pocket guy. I'm not saying you can't. But what I am saying is functional athleticism or an athlete at the position that is a pocket passer, I think is a huge, huge deal in college football.
Cheat code. It's a cheat code.
It's the cheat code. You want to, as fast and talented as defenses are in the SEC, you want them to have to be able to defend every person on the field that's eligible to run or catch a football. Bottom line. And I think that is huge. I mean, look, you think that it's not going to happen for Texas with DJ Lagway this year?
Mm-hmm.
They're going to have to defend the threat. Assuming he's healthy, right? It's a game changer, right? And look what Gunnar Stockton did when he came in just to one drive. When they were having to adjust his athleticism.
Sam Levitt. Look at Sam Levitt. What he did.
Sam Levitt was running around the field, was just hard to get down. So it's not always about yards per carry and quarterback draws. It's just, man, we have to defend this guy. And now we're asking our guys to cover for 2 seconds longer at times. I think Sark's adjusting that, while also keeping the balance of passer 1, 2, 3. We can move him within our scheme, keep him on the move at times, but then 4, when all else breaks down, this guy can go make a play for us.
I feel like when Sark left Bama, if you look at what that offense would have been in 2021 with Sark as a play caller instead of Bill O'Brien, I think Bryce Young is kind of where he was going with that position. A guy that first and foremost, can stand in the pocket, like you said, Jerry, make just about every throw on the route tree, but not, Jerry, you told me something a long time ago, and I've used this because it makes sense. Like when you think about a dual threat quarterback, you think about that dual threat. All that term gets thrown out there a lot. It's used pretty liberally, but I look at it as, can you design a run game around this guy?
Yeah.
Like, Sam Ehlinger is a dual threat quarterback from that standpoint because you have a run game designed around him. You won't design a run game around Bryce Young, but his ability to extend the play is what you're looking for. You can't, and I just think Sark understands that. Look, to have a guy like Quinn, similar to guys he had before, whether it was Carson Palmer, Matt Leinart, or Mark Sanchez, everything around them has to be almost perfect for your system to work. But the equalizer is, if things break down, now I've got a guy that can extend the play, and now everybody's got to cover. It becomes a scramble drill situation. And if I've got a guy with the instincts like Arch Manning has, I'm going to win that battle more often than not.
Yeah, and I think we talked about the deep ball, okay? So what does – and I'm not saying Arch has to be the number one pick, or let's just say he's not even a first-round pick. Let's just say he's the rare second-round pick. Let's just throw that out there. And I'm not saying he is or isn't. Let's just throw it out there, though. What he can do for Sark's offense is, we just said, deep ball. I mean, Sark just told you. He just said it in an interview. I mean, you don't say something like that if you're not –
confident. Yeah, exactly.
So then you also have more quarterback waggle, right, Rod? You can put him on the move more. And then if play breaks down, you have somebody who can go keep that play alive or make some chunk yardage if you need it off schedule.
Yep.
So now Sark, and I think he's got the same, and maybe Trey Owens is more of the pocket guy, but with KJ Lacey and with Diabell, if you look out into the future a little bit, he now has that component. Yeah. And so now Sark, I think, for the first time, because to Jeff's point, he left Alabama. For the first time, he's got everything at his disposal in his offense. And that's what makes me excited. Mm-hmm. All right, Sark, what are you bringing out we haven't seen before? Because you are bringing things out this year we haven't seen because of this discussion we're having. I'm really excited to see what he's bringing out this year, because this will be the first time, I think, for teams they're going to play that they're going to see things from Sark that they haven't seen on tape before because of the quarterback, the strength of the quarterback, and a guy that's mobile at the same time.
Yeah, no, the offense was easier to defend with Quinn. I'm not disrespecting Quinn, but he didn't have the scramble ability. As a DB, I can tell you scramble drill is hell to have to defend. All right, that's 5, 6, 7 seconds. I got to run with a guy that's he has basically the first route I defended. Now he's on the second and the third route I'm having to defend. That's really tough for any DB to defend essentially 3 plays in one. And now you got the deep ball, which they're going to be more effective and efficient in converting as well. So you got to defend more of the field and defend more elements of the offense. That's just what you have to deal with, Arch. And to your point, Saudi Q, the defense has actually been really good versus mobile quarterbacks. I've been really versus quarterbacks in designed run situations. What Texas has been hurt is quarterbacks doing exactly what Jerry pointed out, is when the play breaks down and the fit hits the shan.
Yeah,
I don't give a damn how good your defense is. Even Texas, Sam Levitt still made plays, right? Diego Pavia still made plays off schedule. Those second reaction, those off script plays. That's what you're getting with an Arch Manning. So those are tough for any defense to defend because they're unpredictable. We don't know what's happening. There's no way to watch film or game plan. So you can have a spy on a guy that likes to scramble, but then you're losing the numbers advantage in the passing game at times. So it's really difficult to defend that. And so Texas this year, though, will face DJ Lagway. They didn't have to face him last year. Diego Pavia can make plays on the move. He's back. Taylon Green from Arkansas. He can move around. John Mateer, Oklahoma.
Good athlete now. He's good.
He can run now. You mentioned Gunnar Stockton, Marcel Reed. They'll face half the damn schedule is going to be quarterbacks that can run. I don't know who Ohio State's bringing, but he probably can move around too. Half the damn schedule is going to be mobile quarterbacks.
Yeah. No, it is. Absolutely. No doubt.
All right. Thank you for that question. That was a good one. How about this one from Texas Boy Wonder? He says, how often does Arch choose to run opposed to the check down? That's a good question. His scramble rate it wasn't that high. He's just going to be way more effective at it.
The second he starts pulling the ball down and running too quick, Peyton and Eli are going to send a text at the same time, right? I mean, that's just not that's not what's going to happen here. They didn't send him to Texas to be a runner. They sent him to develop as a passer, as a quarterback. So I think he's a super smart football player, so it'll be situational. Yeah. I don't think you're going to – if you get to the point where Arch pulls it down 3 or 4 times on 3rd and 7, he's probably a little confused on what he's seeing, because that's not the game plan.
Yeah, I totally agree.
To your point on that, Jerry, go back and look at his first touchdown pass of the year. His first touchdown pass of his career against Colorado State. He's keeping his eyes down the field. He's keeping the play alive. And as soon as he's going down, he flips it to Silas Bolden for a touchdown. Yeah, I think that's more of what you see. Whereas what you pointed out, go back and look at his great. There's a 21-yard scramble against Georgia, but that home game against Georgia, whether Quinn, Arch, the offensive line, Sark, it was moving too fast for everybody in the first half of that game.
Yeah, no doubt it was.
Yep. Yes, I agree with that. He will. I don't think the scramble rate to be at that much higher than Quinn's. But go look at their yards per scramble. It's going to be triple what Quinn did, like in terms of effectiveness.
Yeah, and to that point, Rod, you didn't have to defend Quinn on the scramble because you can rally to the football, because especially a hobbled Quinn, because it's like, all right, how far is he really going to get before we can get there?
Right. Ask him. Hey, A&M thought that same thing. He was running down the sideline with a bum ankle on the Aggies.
Oh, man.
I love how quarterbacks. Texas quarterbacks love to burn off on the Aggies, man.
This made my ankle hurt watching that. But,
but he ran like his ankle was hurt, too. It looked like he was hurt.
Yeah, it did.
But, Jerry hit it on the head, and I've been saying it all off season, too. With Arch, you have to have a defender account for the quarterback on every play. You can't take your eyes off of him. You've got, whether it's a spy or you're dropping somebody or whatever, that's the advantage of having a guy that can kill you with his legs, is you've got to have a defender account for him, because the one time you don't, Quinn might make that a 12-yard gain for a first down. Arch can make that a 40-yard gain.
He take it to the house on you. Give a house call on you, for real. I'm with you. All right, let's get to a couple of – how about this one? Arrow Kits 27 says of Owens, Lacey, and Bell, which is least likely to finish their career at Texas realistically. I've been on the record for saying Trey Owens does not finish his eligibility at Texas, so I'm already out off this one. I've said that multiple times. I think he's really, and that's because I like him, because I think he's really good. I think he's going
to be in demand. He's going to be in demand.
Yes, that's basically.
And so look, let's just say this: Arch isn't going pro after 1 year, so that means Owens has to sit 3 years and wait his turn. And I'm not saying he will. I'm not saying he won't. But in today's day and age, if you have a really good number 2 quarterback, that guy's in demand.
Yep.
That guy has a chance to go make jack. Because here's the reality. It's just quarterback life. Arch is probably going to have a quarter or something where he's not feeling good. He got a little dinged up. And it doesn't take much for somebody to come in and spin it around and make $750,000 playing quarterback anymore. Mm-hmm. It doesn't. It can only take a quarter, because they already know a guy's good. They've seen the spring game. If he just comes in and looks really good, he's in demand. And quarterbacks are going to get injured, so there's going to be a point in time this year where Trey Owens is going to probably come into a meaningful game, and it may be for a series, it may be for 2 series, it may be for a quarter. It's just look around football. And if he plays really well, his value goes through the roof in the portal. So is he going to wait 3 full years? I don't know. Maybe he does. But he's going to have to turn down he's probably going to have to turn down some lucrative offers to wait that long.
That's it. That's interesting, Jerry, because the almost the less film he has, the better it is for him. Because if he just continues to look good in these little glimpses we get, nobody, knock on wood for him, and I like Trey a lot as a prospect, nobody's seen him struggle yet. So all you know is, man, this dude's 6'4", and he can rip it, and he had a great senior year of high school, and, man, he's just been behind Arch. Man, this guy could come in here and start for us. But at the same time, I think that he's more likely to answer the question, which is least likely to finish their career. I would say Trey, just because he's older. And at what point, let's say in the spring of 2027, if he's still here, what if that quarterback battle's too close for Sark to call coming out of spring ball? If I'm Trey Owens, I may not want to wait around and compete with Diabell and KJ Lacey and insert 2027 quarterback for the job in camp. I may go somewhere where I'm a walk-in starter at that point.
Is Trey Owens like the kind of the Mac Jones of this thing, where the quarterbacks around him are a little bit different, and we all assume like, I don't know if he'll end up being the starter quarterback, because I don't know if people thought Mac Jones would end up being the starter there and end up working out. But
I didn't.
Yeah, they flipped him. They flipped him from Kentucky. He was committed to Kentucky. What Mac was, right? So he was kind of an afterthought, a depth guy. Like, we had him in Under Armour camp when I was at ESPN. He had really good feet. Funny human being, by the way. Had really good feet. Had that quick release, and you could see it. You could say, we actually said coming out of that camp, that guy will be like a multi-year starter at Kentucky. Then when he flipped and Bama took him, it was more like, okay, this guy's going to be a really good depth piece. We'll see if he actually lasts that long. But to your point, he did. And, he developed. And look, the one thing about that is if you stick, somebody said, Burn Orange Horn said it in the chat. I don't even think it's just Sark's offense. I just think it's a quality offense. If you sit and develop, all it takes is 1 year really to get on the boards in the draft. And if you have talent around you, you can put up big numbers in your 1 year. So it's not out of the question. What'll be interesting, though, is just, look, quarterbacks in the portal are getting paid a lot of money.
Ton of money.
And I'm quite sure. If Trey ever went to like Sark and said, man, somebody's offering me 1.75, he'd shake his hand and say, go get it, big man.
Exactly. You'd be a fool not to take it, son. Yeah, you've learned a lot here. I can't teach you more than, Yeah, I agree with you on that. That's kind
of like Mac having that conversation with Adam Dunn. Coach, I gotta, the Reds want to give me $1 million. Yeah. Why are you still sitting here talking to me, son? Go play pro baseball. But hey, I'll say this too. When you talk about Trey Owens, Sark's been the head coach of Texas 4 years. Each of those seasons, the guy that entered the season as the number 2 quarterback started at least 2 games.
That's what I was going for earlier. Look, injuries at quarterback are going to happen. And look, what we were just talking about, Arch runs. That doesn't take much. Roll an ankle, you're out a week. And you get one opportunity, you play well. I mean, look, and I know the chat's going to say I'm mean. Malik Murphy didn't even play well at Texas.
Yeah.
And he got a great deal to leave.
Yeah.
What happens if you actually play well in your opportunity?
That's a good point. Yeah. And the truth is, he said, to Jeff's point, to double down on it, even go back further than Sark. I mean, go to Charlie Strong, Tom Herman, Mac Brown. Guys, how often has a quarterback started and finished every game at Texas in a season? Like 5 or 6 times in the last 25 years? It don't happen very often.
I think like Sam in 2019, I think was
right. I think Sam did it in 2002. Like it basically doesn't happen a lot. Like it just doesn't happen. So chances are, whoever the backup is, Trey Owens, they're gonna play.
Rob, would you like the 05 team's chances to succeed if Nordco had to make a start against Baylor?
Honestly, bro, they're so loaded. I've had this discussion before. They were so loaded. It depends on who they play. If they play anybody in the Big 12, yes. I think they'd have been okay. I know that team was loaded. They'd probably switch up their style. They'd have to become a ball control, defensive oriented, trying to win with special team defense. But that team was so good they could win with special teams defense. They could. They could do like Bama did when Nick Saban first started. Just win, no offense at all. That's how they beat Texas in the national title. They didn't play no offense in that damn game. Bama didn't do it. Go look at Bama's offensive stats in that game. They're terrible.
Nordco is 20. He's 2011. AJ McCarron just handing the ball to Trent Richardson. He's like, here, Jamal Charles, go win us a game.
Pretty much. That's a good conversation.
I want to respond to something. Jack Burton, because how many programs tried to seduce Arch? I think he means in his 2 years at Texas. I want to say this too, because this was my whole issue with all the Arch clickbait. You know how many I think did? 0. Because if you recruited him, you understood the Manning family.
Yeah. Good point.
I say 0.
That's a good point. Yeah.
They know. These guys know.
Yeah.
Look, they know. You don't think that when Kirby and Alabama had to change, obviously, Dabo wasn't going to happen, but Kiffin at Ole Miss, which you never visited. But You think those people didn't have those conversations with Cooper? Hey, man, we have a guy here too. What happens if he sits? Are y'all okay with this? They already knew the answer.
Yeah.
They already knew the answer because they recruited him. So the only way something would have happened was if the Manning family, I think, reached out to somebody. And I don't think that ever happened.
It's a good point. I agree with that take, actually, Jerry. I'm with you 100% there. All right, let's thank our friends over at Von Lane. And I know we're approaching the end of our live stream, but we'll take a few more questions before we end things today and hit a couple of more topics. If you've tried flying, you've probably tried driving to all the major Texas cities, Austin, Dallas, Houston, San Antonio. And I'm sure just like me, you've probably dealt with all the stress and the hassles of flying and driving to all the major Texas cities. Well, Von Lane changes everything. The smarter way to travel between major Texas cities, folks. Let's face it, flying is a hassle. Security lines, packed gates, the ridiculously priced items in airports, delayed flights, all for an hour flight, an hour trip. It's not worth it. Your stress levels will thank you. Will thank Von Lane. Driving isn't much better. If you ever tried taking that same day round trip between Dallas and Austin, or Houston and DFW, or Austin and Houston, it is hours of lost productivity, emails piling up, calls going unanswered, all for work left undone, all to focus on the road and the traffic jams. Why waste a day and when you can stay connected and stay productive with Von Lane? Von Lane changes everything. It's luxury regional bus travel, what some call a private jet on wheels. You can sink it to a plush leather seat with a leg rest. You can stay connected with complimentary Wi-Fi, enjoy complimentary snacks and drinks on every trip, plus delicious meals on select departures. If you need to freshen up, they have hot towel service. If you want to relax, they've got eye masks and pillows and blankets to keep you cozy. The Von Lane team takes care of every detail so you can sit back, relax, unwind, and enjoy the most comfortable travel experience on the road today. So if you're a business traveler, you can recapture lost productivity, do research on the Von Lane. I've done it myself, actually, traveling to Houston and traveling to DFW on the Von Lane. For you leisure travelers out there, you can sit back, relax, and get pampered by the Von Lane team. And if you're planning a special trip, guys trip, gals trip, bachelor party, bachelorette party, football game, concert, special event, you can charter your own Von Lane coach for the ultimate group experience. Von Lane is first-class travel without the hassle. See for yourself. Visit vonlane.com. That's VONLANE.com. Use the promo code OTF25 for $20 off your first trip with vonlane.com. Thank you very much to Von Lane for being a part of the ON Texas football family and sponsoring our Friday live stream. All right, we got a super chat here from D Money Can't Get Money. Appreciate you, D Money Can't Get Money. It says, I'm predicting that Banks will be the first O-lineman picked in the draft. There's no way NFL coaches and GMs will pass on him, in my opinion. Thank you for that, D Money. Yeah, for some reason in the mock drafts, D Money, mock drafts. All right, so you take that with a grain of salt. In a lot of the mock drafts, Kelvin Banks has dropped, still in the first round, but he's definitely He's not the first Longhorn drafted in a lot of the mock drafts that I've seen, Jeff. Now you're like myself, or kind of a mock draft slut. And
damn right.
And hasn't been the first O-lineman in a lot of those mock drafts, Jeff. And I know you've been paying attention to a lot of them. I think Lance Zierlein actually had him drafted pretty early. I think Lance Zierlein may have had him in 11 in his last draft, somewhere around there, right? Yeah. So that may be different. Lance Zierlein knows this stuff, by the way, one of my favorite draft analysts. What are your thoughts, though, Jeff, about the draft stock of Kelvin Banks lately?
So I looked at 10 different mock drafts, and the one I didn't get was Jordan Reed at ESPN put his out yesterday afternoon. So I didn't get to that one. But, Field Yates, Matt Miller, some NFL.com, some CBS Sports. Pete Prisco at CBS has him going 10 to the Bears. Got a couple, Bucky Brooks at NFL Media, Chris Trapasso at CBS have him going 13 to the Dolphins. Lance Zierlein, like you said, Rod, 11 to the 49ers. The one thing I keep hearing about Kelvin Banks, like just stuff I read and, kind of just digging around, is, the arm length was a concern. Is he really 6'4"? But, okay, he answered all those questions at the combine. Mm-hmm. Now it's, is he that dominant? Is he as dominant as a run blocker as you want a left tackle to be? Well, I know this. Kelvin Banks, with all due respect to Will Campbell and the other linemen in this draft, I really believe Kelvin Banks as a pass protector is a walk-in starter in the NFL right now at either left or right tackle. Now, I like the thought of him going to the 49ers. I've said this all along. Start him out on the right side. Trent Williams decides to retire. That it's time to get ready to go to Canton. Boom, you've already drafted your replacement at left tackle. If he gets to Houston at 25, which of the 10 mock drafts I look at, three of them had him going to Houston at 25. Man, if I'm Nick Caserio and D'Amico Ryans, I'm elated if he falls to 25 because I've still got a franchise quarterback and CJ Stroud I got to protect. Just traded Laramie Tunsil. Hell yeah, I'll take Kelvin Banks and we'll work with that.
Yep. You know what's crazy for me about this whole process is when it started, right? This is the NFL draft. This is how much talent there is in the SEC. All year long, it was going to be Kelvin Banks or Will Campbell. Will Campbell or Kelvin Banks. I think Amon Mimbu may go before both of them.
Yeah.
Out of Missouri. Because he was such an athletic freak at the combine. And, because he played at Missouri, he got, unless you were just really searching for it, if you were just not casual, but maybe casual is a term. You're a big Texas fan, but you don't watch every SEC team or keep up with what people are saying during the season about players on a team you're not playing. That's like Mimbu kind of popped up on people. But Mimbu's athleticism is he may be drafted before either one.
That's crazy. And something that's cool about this draft for Texas, though, when it's all said and done, you have a chance to have the top wide receiver, tackle, and corner in this draft class. Like like those guys potentially, Jahdae Barron, Matthew Golden, and Kelvin Banks could be in that conversation. Hopefully that is the case. Thank you for the super chat. D Money can't get money. All right, I know I got a couple more questions before we end the live stream, or at least topics. One is from John here. I like this question. He says, do you see PK adjusting the bend but don't break to be more of an attacking defense this season? John, this is a good question because I think we've discussed this in different ways. And I do, because my take is I expect them to play a little bit more man coverage. And just by definition, man coverage is a little bit more aggressive style of defense rather than the pattern match zone coverage. So I'm going to say yes. Now, how much more aggressive? But even Sark has said that he wants to be an aggressive attacking style defense, and he wants to play more man coverage in that vein. So I'm going to say yes, but I don't know what you're saying. And Jeff, I like your theory about creating pressure. You've talked about it. And that also would kind of lend to what John is talking about here as well.
Yeah, because now, look, even if you decide it doesn't work out for Trey Moore at Sam linebacker, okay, you've at least cross-trained him there for an entire spring. So you've at least got some versatility. So at least situationally, he can play there. I think the personnel is going to dictate that you're going to be more of an attacking defense. I think the thing for PK is this. He'll never be a high blitz rate guy. He just won't. No. So I think the answer for him, to go back to where we started with David Bailey, I think PK, if the pressure is organic, then he can live with that. He would rather the pressure come organically than having to dial it up, because I think for him, he wants to be aggressive. But, and this is just me spitballing here, kind of knowing PK now, having heard him talk about his defense, what his philosophy is. He wants to be aggressive without sacrificing his run defense. Doesn't want to give up anything against the run. Doesn't just want to suddenly become leaky against the run. So I think you can do that with the personnel you have, and you can have a dominant organic pass rush rather than trying to have to manufacture it.
And he doesn't want to give up explosive plays either, which also means he doesn't want to take a lot of chances. And something else you brought up, Jeff, that I think they could do, because they were 118th in blitz rate, so they don't want to blitz a lot. Like I said, Philadelphia Eagles won the Super Bowl without blitzing one damn time. You can do it with organic pressure. The twists and stunts in the games up front is something else you can do to be more aggressive, but not necessarily be blitzing. We'll see, but I agree with you, John. I think that's the way they're going. All right. Before we end our live stream here, Matt, could you bring up the Pro Football Focus cornerback rankings? I want to get these guys' thoughts real quick. They rank the 10 best cornerbacks returning in college football. They have Malik Muhammad at number 6 in this ranking. Do we think that's too high, too low for Malik Muhammad? 6th best cornerback returning in college football, according to Pro Football Focus rankings. By the way, they got Austin, Central Texas, Austin native Leonard Moore at number 1. But I said it when he was in high school. I thought he was the best coverage corner in the state of Texas, but that may prove me right. But what do you guys thought about Malik Muhammad? Too high, too low at number 6.
Rod was driving the Leonard. He was conducting the Leonard Moore train before.
I was on it. It was easy to see. Nobody else was playing bump and run covers like that in high school. That's crazy. Anyway,
what's interesting about this is Terrell at 4, Muhammad at 6. I think Terrell probably will put up better testing times at a combine. I mean, I don't know, dude. That guy got flagged a lot every time he was beat.
He did.
A very high flag route to be ranked number 4.
I agree with that.
I mean, hard to be a grabber and be ranked top 5. Look, I think Manny, the end of the season, Rod, I think confidence is such a fine line, right? And he obviously, a couple of, whether it was Clemson, a couple of times maybe got in his head a little bit. I think Manny is a really good player. I think he's going to play a long time in the NFL, and I think he's going to have a really good season. So do I think 6 without seeing the entire list? Just looking at 4 versus 6, Terrell, man. I mean, wasn't he the most flagged corner, one of the top 3 most flagged corners in college football?
He was. I remember CJ bringing it up. Here's your list real quick. I'll give it to you. Leonard Moore is at number 1, the corner from Notre Dame. Jermod McCoy of Tennessee is at number 2. 3, D'Angelo Pons of Indiana. 4 is Avian Terrell of Clemson. 5 is Chandler Rivers of Duke. Malik Muhammad at 6. A.J. Harris of Penn State is at 7. Jeremiah Wilson of Houston at 8. John Tez Williams of Iowa State at 9. And Cameron Calhoun of Alabama at 10.
So here's one for you on that list. So Chandler Rivers, and this is where college player versus NFL prospect. Chandler Rivers, I saw in high school in Beaumont. He was about 5'9", 175. So as a college player, really good player. Now, if we're looking at this just returning college corners, there's an argument. He's really good. Yeah. Pro prospect, no, he's probably going to have to, he may be more that safety nickel in the NFL. I don't know. I mean, he's 5'9" with not a lot of arm length from what I remember seeing him in high school. A really good football player.
Yeah. My only take on Manny is he did struggle at the end of the year, but I think that's less to do with his talent and more to do with teams just figured out at some point, let's just not throw at Jahdae Barron. Like, I don't know why teams continued to test him as long as they did, but pretty much Arkansas was the last team, Rod, that did it.
Yeah, they did.
It was after that game where, and honestly, that game might have won him the Thorpe Award as good as he was that day. It was almost like after that game, like, yeah, maybe we shouldn't throw at this guy. You guys, I probably should have figured that out 4 games ago, but I digress. But no, I think he'll be fine. And look, Jerry mentioned the Clemson game. Let's not forget, Clemson has some really good wide receivers.
3 NFL players.
Yeah, that might have been the best wide receiver group Texas saw all year.
Oh yeah, no doubt. No doubt it was. And they were smart. Like you said, they stayed away from Jahdae mostly. They just picked on Gilbo. Yeah, they got Gilbo benched in that game. Picked on Gilbo and then picked on Malik Muhammad. And that was a smart thing to do. Yeah, exactly. All right. Thank you guys for all the questions and thank you for the super chats. Let's thank our last sponsor of the evening before we get out of here. Let's thank our good friends. And by the way, a new sponsor, Advanced Pain Care. Here's a message from our friends over at Advanced Pain Care.
Pros know the pain stops here.
Physical therapy helps me as an athlete then and now. And do I still need therapy? Yes. Advanced Pain Care helps with that.
Injuries will stack up. They'll add up. You can't let those injuries get you down, and Advanced Pain Care has been very helpful for me.
We can help with whatever's got you down, from nerve damage to our spinal cord stimulator. Pain is inevitable. Suffering is optional. Same-day appointments available.
Advanced Pain Care. The pain stops here.
And thank you very much to our friends over at Advanced Pain Care for being sponsors of our Friday live stream. Thank you as well to our other sponsors, Flat Creek Estate Winery, flatcreekestate.com, South Point Dodge, southpointdodge.com, and our friends over at Von Lane, vonlane.com. Remember to use that promo code OTF25. You'll get $20 off your first trip. Thank you guys for all the super chats and all the questions and your participation. Thank you as well to Matthew. Matthew is a real MVP, folks. Always give it up for him. We couldn't do it without him. Thank you, Jeff, for all the expertise. Thanks you as well, Jerry, for all the knowledge and the nuggets. And folks, if anything breaks, keep it tuned right here to On Texas Football and OnTexasFootball.com. For Matthew and for Jeff and for Jerry, I'm Lifetime Longhorn Rod Babers. Hook 'em horns.